light-duty Chevrolet sporting a set of Stark Buick, Jordan, Zeldin, 32-year-old self-employed racer, the J&S Auto Body. Tommy Porter out of Suffolk, Virginia. He'll be in the left lane, 87 Olds for Redding. The 40-year-old Piper, the other car is Don Smith. 208 New begin. Hurricane is Chevy. Ian London of Charlotte, Ohio. 40-year-old self-employed racer. The Winesfield Pistons, 87 Oldsmobile. Carolina Brewing, against Matt Ross out of Avon Lake, Ohio. Ross campaign for Buckeye Country statewide something, 90 Pontiac Grand Prix. In fact, we're out right after the state shuttle over champion of ethanol sports national.
riding job than it would be if this was 50-degree concrete drag strip. Well, it's tough to drive. You see those cars moving around when the tires smoke, it's just like they're going on. This tire is not turning the cars moving like that. It's just allowing the tires to smoke and lose pressure, but not spinning-wise. That way they're still able to drive and make the run, but it is a driving choice.
very tasteful prices. The smart money is on budget.
Why don't we have as much quiet here as we had on the greens?
Okay.
Competition is mounting a 270-mile-an-hour challenge. Now it's time for Brotherton to look deep within himself to learn whether he has the fortitude of a champion. The decision will be reached in the heartland of America's horsepower belt on the quarter mile at Norwalk Raceway Park. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Norwalk, Ohio, on the banks of Lake Erie. Traditional late summer stop for the International Hot Rod Association Tostiaski Spumante Loctite World Nationals. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha with ESPN drag racing analyst Ted Jones. Now, Ted, I know we've got some great championship battles coming up, but I've got to tell you, I am really impressed with this Norwalk facility.
This has to be the most beautiful facility on the entire IHRA trail. Track operator Bill Bader each year makes a different improvement to Norwalk Raceway Park. As you look around at all of the greenage and trees, the fantastic paint that Bill puts on this track, everyone that comes here is very impressed. It's kind of a spectator's dream.
Well, enough with the amenities. Let's get on with the show, and here's Brett Kepner with a preview of today's action.
Well, gentlemen, the World Nationals are annually known for serious upsets. This is the one race in the IHRA National Event Tour that it seems that we just can't ever pick a winner going into eliminations. But it was qualifying at this event that made things even stranger than it normally is. In Top Fuel Eliminator, we had the quickest 8-car Top Fuel dragster field in IHRA history, but John Kerry, one of the contenders for the World Championship points lead, failed to qualify. Michael Brotherton, who is leading by 3 qualifying positions for the World Points Championship over Richard Holcomb, looks like he could really string things out in the World Championship if he did well here today. In Funny Car Eliminator, Chuck Etchels is dominating there, but we have a father-son team scheduled to meet in the first round of eliminations. And in Pro Stock Eliminator, you want to talk tension? Tim Neighbors, who is 1 round behind Tommy Mooney in the World Championship points race, was looking good in qualifying, but going into the final session, Mooney wasn't in the program. It was seriously, incredibly tense. Tommy Mooney, the World Championship points leader, probably had never had it so hard. In any case, like I said, you can't pick a winner at this one.
Well, Mooney, in fact, did make the field as the 16th qualifier, but making things difficult for everyone are the weather conditions. Very hot and humid. Later in our show, we'll have the IHRA secret word that will win some lucky viewer a 57 Chevy. Write the word on a postcard, send it to Box 3029, Bristol, Tennessee, 37625. Stay tuned and have a pen and a piece of paper ready for the IHRA secret word that could win you a new Chevy. We'll be back for the Night of Fire final round qualifying under the stars here at Norwalk.
This ESPN program is brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And by Firestone. Tires that meet the test.
Since the association's inception in 1971, the International Hot Rod Association has offered an aspect of professional drag racing that is available in few other forms of motorsports, professional category nighttime qualifying. During the Saturday nights of each IHRA National Championship event, the pro qualifying final sessions are presented to the fans under the lights after the sun has gone down in professional drag racing's most spectacular fashion. Every pro category is represented during the final qualifying sessions, and the Night of Fire program has also been known for its exhibition vehicles, jet-powered dragsters, funny cars, wheel standers, even Bob Motz's jet-powered semi-tractor. In 1990, the International Hot Rod Association has accepted its first full-season sponsorship of the Night of Fire programs. And Mark Nichols, the president of Nichols Performance Warehouses, has indeed brought major changes to IHRA Championship drag racing. Mark, it would take a company of a truly national scope to be able to derive some kind of benefit from sponsoring events all over the country. What does Nichols Performance get out of this?
Well, the first thing we like to do is simply to expand our marketing coverage to all 50 states, as we're doing now with our catalog mailings, and we want people to be able to see not only do we sell parts, but we participate in drag racing and participate in the events that our customers and use the kind of parts that we sell.
Now, as opposed to a retail business, however, you deal mostly with jobbers across the country. How does that work from their standpoint?
Well, we work with the jobbers at each one of these IHRA national events to bring promotions to them and free tickets, discounts on parts to the retail consumer with bounce back coupons. We're trying to build the jobber's business. That's correct. We do not sell directly to the public, but in every area of the country we have Nichols Performance jobbers and dealers and auto parts stores that do use our products, and of course the consumers of our products come to the races, and particularly the IHRA races.
Where they get an eyeful. We'll pick up the action in Pro Stock final qualifying. Billy Ewing sporting a new look at midseason, Ted.
Billy's in an Oldsmobile. We've always seen the Ewing and Ewing team in a Chevrolet. But Billy turned that Olds on tonight and qualified #1 with a 7.38.
But there was bad news also under the late summer harvest moon. Fred Farndon and John Carey, number 6 and number 3 in the championship, failing to qualify. Carey broke. Farndon simply couldn't get it done. Keep in mind, this was the quickest 8-car field in IHRA history. Richard Holcomb, the points leader until the most recent event at Atco, New Jersey, running with Jack Ostrander. Normally 2 of the solid qualifiers barely making it into the field, 4th and 6th. But then it was time for a bit of frivolity once the fields were safely tucked away for the night, and this is one of the most spectacular jet vehicles in the world.
Well, this is Bob Moats in his Kenworth jet truck. This thing runs 203 miles per hour in the quarter mile.
And considering it has the aerodynamics of your average brick, it certainly takes all of that runoff area to get it stopped. And then it's time for the fireworks show, capping the night of fire at every IHRA event. With that, the stage was set for eliminations. We'll have quarterfinals in Pro Stock when we return.
Call now and you can have 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal and this valuable 120-page guide to understanding money and markets. That's 13 weeks of the Journal for the news and ideas you need every business day. And this guide free, which tells you everything you want to know about money and markets, now for only $34. Call toll-free 800-832-8700. Today's
Going up against James Antoinette.
Billy Ewing actually upset Tommy Mooney in the first round of competition as Mooney red-lighted, but it looks like he's got a problem.
The crew poking rags into the air inlet, the air scoop, and fire flames out of it. He's got a carburetor fire.
That's Lamar Ewing, Billy's brother, trying to put that carburetor fire out, and I don't know if the car is going to be able to go or not. Jim Blakely looking down that snorkel now. They're motioning Billy to shut the car off. There's still a flame. You can see it starting to come out of the air opening of the scoop, and they're telling him to shut the car off. Now Lamar motions for them to take the hood off, and it doesn't look like Billy Ewing is going to be able to make the call against Antoinette.
You can see the gas is burning right at the top of the carburetor. Meanwhile, in the background, you hear the sound of James Antoinette, who will get a bye run into the semifinals.
Antoinette certainly didn't go for lane choice as he shut down to an 8.17.
And there you see Billy Ewing, a terrible disappointment. His second race with this new Oldsmobile body. He qualified easily as the #1 man in the field, but he is not going to get past the second round. With that, we will move on to the next round, which will feature 2 of the real giant killers this weekend. David Drongowski, who knocked off championship leader Tim Neighbors in the first round, and Jim Yates, who beat veteran pro Mark Pawak. Cars away cleanly in the left lane. Yates got the whole shot. He has about a car length at half track. Let's see if he can hold it. He expands it. Easy win for Jim Yates.
Jim Yates picks up a very easy win, 7.53, 180 miles per hour, so he's still walking in the Cinderella contest.
And a very strong reaction time. Here is Joe Lapone in new sponsor colors. He will be going up against one of the hottest Pro Stock drivers in the series at this point, Doug Kirk.
Lapone, a team member now of the Summit Racing team, so his teammate has to be Bill Coolman, of course.
Coolman, the great star of Pro Modified racing on the IHRA trail, starter Jim Blakely motions Kirk to the line.
Lapone started his Pro Stock driving career driving for Bill Grumpy Jenkins and came to fame there. And he's been kind of struggling ever since, trying to own and drive his own car.
He is staged, waiting on Kirk. Both cars set, and a red light for Lapone.
Well, the pressure was on Lapone knew he had to cut a close line against Doug Kirk the way that he's been running, so he took a chance. Kirk to the easy win, 7:57 elapsed time.
Let's take another look now in the left lane. Watch as Joe Lapone tries to anticipate the green and misses it. Our next matchup will be Carlton Phillips going up against the quickest and fastest pro stock anywhere on earth, Harold Denton, in the Party Time Pontiac. Now, Denton had himself a pretty interesting first round. It's not often that anybody beats four-time IHRA Pro Stock World Champion Ricky Smith out of the lights. Denton absolutely left him off the start, and even though Smith ran faster and quicker, he could not run down Denton.
Denton actually turned a 4:16 reaction time to Ricky's 5:21. As you said, Bob, that's just unheard of.
So now Denton will go up against Carlton Phillips, who knocked off Joe Clark in the first round. Phillips qualified 4th fastest, Denton 12th fastest, but this is still a great race. The wheelie bars to the ground on Carlton Phillips' car. Denton in the near lane seems to have a problem, and Phillips just pulls away.
Carlton Phillips, an easy win at 7.51, 185 miles per hour.
And so Carlton Phillips, with the biggest engine in the class, 745 cubic inches, will have lane choice over James Antoinette. Jim Yates will have lane choice over Doug Kirk by virtue of a quicker elapsed time. We'll be back to start action in the nitro-fired classes when we return to Norwalk.
The Quaker State King Racing Buick, winner of the 1989 Die Hard Award for the most tough NASCAR miles, is winning again in 1990 as Brett Bodine takes first in the first Union 400. It takes a tough oil to keep a car running this tough, and it takes a tough driver to step right in, step on it, and win. But number 26 is one tough car. Brett Bodine is one tough driver, and Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
Unfortunately, your septic system can back up.
What a mess! What a smell!
What an expense!
Septic system backup?
Again.
So how come this hasn't happened to you? I use Rid-X.
Rid-X once a month adds millions of bacteria to digest waste and works to keep your septic system running trouble-free.
It's easy and a lot less expensive.
Rid-X, it helps prevent septic system backup.
Welcome back to Norwalk, Ohio, where we're ready for Nitro Funny Car quarterfinal action. Question is, can anybody unseat points leader Chuck Etchells on a runaway to the 1990 championship? The man who will have the first shot at it, Al Hoffman.
Hoffman barely qualified in this field, number 8 with a very weak ET, but anything can happen in drag racing, especially at NRP, which is known as kind of the upset track.
It is a north versus south confrontation. Hoffman hailing from Umatilla, Florida, going up against the pride of Putnam, Connecticut, Chuck Etchells.
Well, Etchells has the points lead all but locked up. If he can manage to win this race today, I'd say he's going to be just absolutely unstoppable, Bob. Al Hoffman, of course, doesn't care about any of that. He's only after the winner's purse.
Al Hoffman ranks 17th in points coming in, but he can really be a giant killer here if he can knock off Chuck Etchells and give those running behind him a place in points. Although many of the other drivers in points are not here. Doc Holliday, Richard Hartman, Jerry Caminito, D.A. Santucci, 2, 3, 4, 5 in points are not in the field for today's race.
Both cars taking their time staging, having a little sight game. Finally, Etchells rolls in the stage.
Exactly. Wait for the other guy as he watches his temperatures build. But they get away. Hoffman bobbles a little off the line that smokes the tires, but he keeps his foot in it. He cannot catch Etchells, though.
There went the supercharger belt off of Hoffman's car. Etchells a 5:45, 267. Let's watch for that blower belt. You see Hoffman spinning just a little bit at about the 300-foot mark. As they get to the lights, Etchells picks up the win. Hoffman tosses the blower belt.
And the car took a wicked hop just at about the time the blower belt left Al Hoffman's machine. Chuck Etchells, the points leader, moves on to the semifinals. Our next matchup will star this man, Frank Kramberger, who will be going up against veteran Nitro Funny Car driver Art Hendy. Now, there's a problem on Kramberger's car. This is Clayton Harris, who's the crew chief for Richard Holcomb's Top Fuel team, who was in there doing a little mop-up.
Well, Well, some last-minute adjustments. Harris jumped over last night and started helping Kramberger, and I guess he just kind of adopted him. He'll be wrenching on both the Kramberger machine and Richard Holcomb's machine. So Harris doing double duty here this weekend.
Hendy qualified number 2. Frank Kramberger number 7.
Indy hails all the way from San Bernardino, California, so he came a long way to match up against the East Coast ace, Frank Kramberger.
And he is the second to stage, both cars away, but Kramberger got a huge hole shot. Indy is really going to have to pedal hard to catch him, and he won't get it.
Frank Kramberger, 555. That's the Clayton Harris touch. 260 miles per hour. He's in this race, Bob.
But it looks like it's going to be an expensive victory for him. A lot of smoke and flames. Watch the headers just on the left side there of Frank Kramberger's car. Out comes the smoke and then a puff of flame. Kramberger is going to give his crew under Clayton Harris something to do in between rounds. Our third matchup in Nitro Funny Car will be the man who is number 15 in points, Whit Bazemore, against Mike Edstrom, 18th in points.
Mike Edstrom in the famous Blind Faith car. That's the car where the crew chief is actually blind but works on the car anyway. But the other big news this weekend is that Whit Bazemore, the struggling young professional photographer, has picked up a major sponsor in Permatex, which happens to be manufactured, Bob, by Loctite.
Permatex, of course, a big sponsor of the ARCA Stock Car Racing Series around the southeastern United States.
Well, a couple of our young lady spectators making their comments about this Edstrom-Bazemore matchup. And quite frankly, either one of these drivers could win this. Although Whit managed to qualify number 3 in this race, he's on a rip this weekend.
Lots of ladies enjoy drag racing action on the IHRA trail.
Bazemore hailing out of Atlanta, Georgia. Edstrom, of course, still makes his home in St. Paul, Minnesota.
So the house car, if you will, driven by Whit Bazemore, will have to beat Mike Edstrom in order to make it into the semifinals, where he will meet Frank Kramberger.
Bazemore qualified with a 581. Pretty impressive against Edstrom's 599.
The cars are away. Edstrom out of the box quickly. He establishes a car length lead, but here comes Whit Bazemore, who just drove right past him.
Wow, what a top-end charge. 574, 251 mile an hour. Watch this car move in the last 200 feet of this drag race. That is absolutely incredible.
Well, the tire marks on the track, it looked like he was still spinning the wheels at the far end of the track. Here comes the father-son Nitro Funny Car team you heard about. Brett Kepner has a closer look at the Litton family.
In ESPN's coverage of IHRA Championship drag racing, we've talked an awful lot about the All-Pro Auto Parts Tennessee Shaker 2-car Nitro Funny Car team, the sport's only father and son Nitro act. But for the first time ever, here at the 1990 Loctite Tostiasti Spumante World Nationals, the father and son group will have to race each other in the very first round. Now, the big question right now is how much equal these cars are going to be when they come up to the line in that first round of eliminations. But we decided to ask the most obvious question: who's going to win this thing? Well, Gary, obviously you'd like to see your son do well, but you'd like to see yourself do well, too. Who's going to win?
I'm going to win. Definitely going to win. We've been talking about it all night. We've got it all figured out. I have.
Is this going to be a close win, or is this going to be a landslide?
Well, it's going to be about a landslide. I told him to leave on. I said, you leave on my header flames, and I said, you'll be doing good. I said, just watch my header flames when I leave, and I said, you'll be leaving right on the tree.
Steve, what do you think? You've been coming along running in the mid-5s at the last few events. Who's going to win this first-round match?
I am. I'm going to. We was talking about last night about him. We don't think he'll keep the clutches in the car because every time he makes a pass, he burns the clutches up in it, you know. So I think I'm going to win.
Now, is it going to be a close race or is it going to be a landslide?
I said it'll be a real close race. He says he's going to beat me offline, but no.
Now the old man says it's going to be a landslide and he's going to win. You're saying it's going to be a close race. Who's right?
I am. I won't be right.
We'll find out.
And we'll find out right now. This is Steve Litton. And on the other side of the track, Father Gary.
Gary, a private investigator by profession out of Knoxville, Tennessee. I really wonder if that's the reason Steve has the funny car number 007.
Well, Gary comes in. Dad is leading. He's number 6 in points. Steve is number 9. Right now, they're fighting for the right to go up against the points leader, Chuck Etchells, in the semifinals. Good lead for both cars, but it looks like Gary Litton is no.
Oh, in the last 100 feet, Steve Litton pulled it out with a 617, 227.75 miles per hour. And I think probably a blower bell once again went off of that. Gary's out on top. Look at Steve pulling the last 100 feet to bump Dad off.
Well, as we go into the semifinals, it will be Chuck Etchells with lane choice over Steve Linton. Frank Kramberger will have choice of lanes against Whit Bazemore. We'll be back for the other half of the Nitro Connection in IHRA Racing Top Fuel. Stay with us.
Here they are, GE halogen headlamps. I have to change one.
You know how to change headlamps? I'm impressed.
Well, it's one advantage of growing up with 4 brothers.
4 brothers?
IHRA Championship Trail. This track was built in 1963, and once on the skids, it has been turned into one of the most impressive facilities in all of drag racing. Brett Kepner has more on the man who made it possible.
It may be one of the quickest and fastest pieces of asphalt on the IHRA National Event Trail, but Norwalk Raceway Park is more than just a drag strip here in Northern Ohio. It is probably one of the best manicured, best appearing facilities in the sport. As a matter of fact, when you talk facilities, Norwalk Raceway Park takes care of the spectators, the sponsors, the officials, everybody here, including the racers, has a chance to do whatever they want to do in one of the best surroundings in the sport. However, one thing about Norwalk Raceway Park is the man behind it. Bill Bader is Norwalk Raceway Park, and Norwalk Raceway Park, in turn, is Bill Bader. The man is looked upon almost as a saving grace for this sport in this part of the country, and for good reason. With this kind of facility, the way he treats the racers, the shows he presents to the spectators, you can't beat Norwalk Raceway Park.
Brett, I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy people. And I think I subscribe to the philosophy that if you give your customer a little more than his or her money's worth, they'll be happy and they'll be back. And I think that's part of it.
You've spent a phenomenal amount of money and effort in making this place look like something more than a drag strip. Just the money you spend monthly on manicuring the shrubbery is amazing. Is that part of that philosophy?
This is my home. This is my race car. You look at some of these race cars, look at all these race cars, and they're beautiful, well-maintained, clean, neat. This is my race car. It's a little longer and a little wider. It's about 100 acres of surface. But I'm proud of it. When I invite a guest to my house, I want that person to be glad they're here and comfortable, and I want to be proud of it, and that's part of it.
But again, the loyalty that you've developed among the racers. You can make this place look as nice as you want, but unless you're not catering to the racer themselves, you're not going to develop this kind of loyalty. What do you do to make the racer come here time after time after time?
When I have an employees meeting with my staff in the beginning of the year, each year for 20 years, I say to them, this racetrack is cold. It's black, 60 feet wide and 4,000 feet long. It's no different than that strip of highway called the Turnpike or the Interstate. What makes it different are the people, our attitude. Every customer that comes into Norwalk Raceway Park is a customer, is a friend. And we treat them as an individual instead of just another number. And I'd like to think it's that personal attention and that sincerity on the part of each and every one of our staff that helps reflect that attitude that I display at the top, they display when they touch our customer, and keeps our customer coming back. I believe that our competition comes from the stadiums and the coliseums, not other racetracks. You know the old saying, I have found the enemy, and it is me. There's a lot of truth to that. We have to realize that our sport is coming of age, and we have to step up and become businessmen. We have to step up and give our customers the kind of facilities and venues that they're happy and comfortable in. So I think without giving you a direct answer and kind of beating around the bush, the direct answer is to continue to give our customer the most exciting, the most enjoyable show, to give them a facility they're comfortable being in. So it means continual updating and continual improving, not just in the facility, but also in what they see when they're sitting in those stands.
Using ethics that would make any business successful, Bill Bader has managed to create a motorsports empire here in Northern Ohio. For the racers and fans who attend events at this particular facility, it's the only drag strip in this part of the country. But if we can get this philosophy to spread through the motorsports world, Bill Bader's influence may be seen just about everywhere. It's about time that this billion-dollar industry got more individuals like Bill Bader behind it.
And the folks have certainly turned out record crowds of spectators and a record car count. Over 600 machines are on that 100 acres of property. A great place to be. Top Fuel quarterfinal action. Our first matchup will pit Wayne Bailey, a rookie in Top Fuel, against Jack Ostrander.
Ostrander hailing out of Pontiac, Michigan, qualified number 4 for the event here today. Wayne Bailey, the new rookie on the block, just got his license at the Fall Nationals last year, qualified number 5. So the middle of the field meeting up right here.
Bailey pulling into position, number 5 in points. There you see the man. A little rap from one of his crewmen on the helmet. wishing him luck as he pulls up the stage. There's a look at Jack Ostrander, qualified number 4. Number 4 in points by just 80, so he can really make up some ground right now with a successful run.
Ostrander, the bowling magnate, as he owns the 300 bowl lanes up in Pontiac, Michigan.
And a huge launch there for Ostrander. Problems for Ostrander now. Bailey in a walkover.
Wayne Bailey could make an important points move in this race. Bailey a 5:34, 271 miles per hour from a 5-year-old dragster.
I guess he's got that thing wrenched up right. Here is the points leader, the man everyone is trying to catch, Michael Brotherton, who moved into the points lead at the last event in Atco, New Jersey, and will try to hold on to it now against another Top Fuel rookie. This is Kenny Koretsky.
Well, Koretsky came to us out of the pro stock ranks. Now he's dropped into a Top Fuel dragster, and that's a big step to take from going 170 to 270 in just 1 year.
Brotherton, number 1, qualified second in this field behind Gene Snow. Kenny Koretsky, number 10 in points, qualified number 7 in this field.
There you look into the eyes of Kenny Koretsky, the Sunoco sponsored machine, as he stages very carefully. And for a rookie, he's making a good showing.
He is indeed. He's developing a reputation as a giant killer. Brotherton won the last event. If Koretsky can get by him here, you know there will be some joy in the pit area. And Brotherton breaks right off the line. Kenny Koretsky will have a walkover.
Koretsky picks up a 5:41, 263 miles per hour. Now that probably won't stand good enough for lane choice.
And a lot of it came right off the tree. A slow reaction time for Koretsky. Look at the oil spilling out both behind and underneath Michael Brotherton's car. Wow, get the mop, Ted.
I'll tell you who's really concerned about this. Eddie Hill and Richard Holcomb are sitting back there in the build-up area. Now, guess who has lane choice? Eddie Hill qualified number 3, Holcomb number 6, and now that lane choice really gets critical because Brotherton has really put a lot of oil down.
Holcomb, keep in mind, is second in points. He desperately wants to get into this one. He doesn't want to be put into this lane. And the explosion came right off the start line.
As soon as he dropped the clutch, the initial impact to those rear slicks, and everything let go. There's transmission oil out there. There's oil from the engine. It is a real mess.
Well, we'll find out in a moment if, in fact, Koretsky will survive the lane choice bargain. He will be meeting the winner of this matchup, Eddie the Thrill Hill, unranked in points, running a partial schedule this year in the IHRA Series, up against Richard Holcomb, number 2 in points, number 1 qualifier for this meeting a year ago.
Now's when having a great wrench like Clayton Harris really counts, because Holcomb hopefully has got the clutch set right, and we'll see in just a moment. No, he doesn't.
Neither he nor Eddie Hill have the clutch set right. Huge plumes of smoke from both cars. Slow run for Eddie Hill, but he did get there first.
Well, a 673 is nothing to brag about, but it gets you into the next round. We'll take one more look at it. Both of them up in smoke instantly, but Clayton Harris still had a little bit too much clutch in Richard Holcomb's car. That's very difficult to set up after all of that oil, Bob, because you want enough clutch in it that when you get off of the oil, you can go win the race.
And you can tell how these cars climb in RPM. In that one shot at the starting line, no smoke at all in Eddie Hill's lead, but shortly thereafter the cars went up and boiled, simply because of the RPM turned out by that enormous 4,000 horsepower engine. Here's a name familiar to drag racing fans anywhere. This is Kenny Bernstein, the former multi-time champion in Nitro Funny Cars, now in Top Fuel. 8th qualifier, just barely making the field. He'll be going up against Mr. Number 1 qualifier, Gene Snow.
Well, and 2-time IHRA world champion, and I can't do anything wrong, and he's already beat Eddie Hill at the finals in New York, Gene Snow. So this is David and Goliath, believe it or not. Kenny's had a tough time of it ever since he went to Top Fuel. With a crew chief, though, like Dale Armstrong, I'm sure they'll get a lick sooner or later.
The cars launch quickly, and both of them go up in smoke. Looks like Snow will have the advantage just barely.
Gene Snow pulls it up, not by any too much. A 557, 226 miles per hour to Bernstein's losing 570. Watch now, when they come off that pad, Norwalk has very short concrete pads. And when they come off that pad, that's when they're breaking loose. Brett Kepner talks with Snow on top end.
Well, I tell you, I didn't know what to think. I saw Eddie smoke the tire. This is supposed to have been a good track. You know, everybody ran good right in front of us. However, I think the sun's making the oil come up a little bit, as it always does on the tracks. But
I was just going to say, especially this track, we always have that problem in the midday race.
Yeah, the nighttime's the best time, like it is on all of them, but we're glad to have won this one.
Well, going into the semifinals, Snow has given up lane choice to Wayne Bailey, and Kenny Koretsky, whose 590 we didn't think would hold up, easily beats Eddie Hill for lane choice in the other semifinal bracket. We'll be back for more action. We're going to the sportsman ranks at the World Nationals from Norwalk, Ohio.
The cool days of October mean red-hot action on ESPN. Baseball tonight.
Up sportsman categories. Quick Rod Eliminator is the quickest of the group and also offers probably the most diverse collection of machinery you'll see in any class outside of the professional ranks. Door slammers, haltered roasters, street roasters, front engine and rear engine dragsters, and some of the more outrageous machines you'll ever witness. How about a brand new Chevy S10 pickup running in the 8-second zone at almost 160 miles per hour, driven by Michigan campaigner Doug Sheets. This machine at the recent Sports Nationals in LaRue, Ohio was voted best appearing sportsman entry, and for good reason. It is a technical masterpiece. But let's face it, this is not the most aerodynamic machine in the world. It takes this big rear wing to keep it stable at 160 miles an hour. The big question is, why would Doug Sheets decide to build a Chevy S10 truck for this, one of the quickest of the classes?
The biggest thing just to be strictly different from everybody else.
Now, you've said that you actually want to step this thing up with nitrous oxide in the future, too.
Yeah, we'd like to put some nitrous on it and run Top Sportsman next year.
What seems to be the biggest problem with this machine as far as a control standpoint? At 160 miles an hour, like I said, the aerodynamics have to be a factor.
Yeah, it takes a little more horsepower to make it go down the track, but as far as stability, it drives like a Cadillac.
Does the wing have everything to do with that, or is that just a little bit of an addition?
It has everything to do with it.
You tried it without the wing?
We run it the first time out without it, and it was a handful.
While nearly every other category of competition in IHRA racing caters to one particular type of machines, full-body passenger cars, open wheelbase, dragsters, top fuelers, funny cars, and pro stockers have their own color as well. This is the one category, Quick Rod Eliminator, where you can be guaranteed of a completely diverse field of race cars. Anything goes, anything wins.
And in the Quick Rod Finals, it was Rob Raham winning over Mitch Smith. Both guys had, miraculously enough, 8.94 elapsed times. They try and run a perfect 890. In the Special ET Bracket Quick 16 feature, the winner was Mark Falk representing NRP. Ken Larrabee from Dragway 42 was the runner-up. Here are the other sportsman winners from the World Nationals.
Congratulations to all of our sportsman winners at Norwalk Raceway Park. Don't forget, at the end of our program, look for the secret IHRA race word, and you could win a totally restored 1957 Chevy Bel Air. Put it on a postcard to Box 3029, Bristol, Tennessee 37625. Have your pens and pencils ready for the IHRA secret word coming up at the end of our program. We'll be back with semifinal round action from our Pro Stock and Nitro classes from Norwalk Raceway Park when we return.
Here's baseball great Raleigh Fingers.
If you like sports, you can win $100 right now in your home. Just go to the phone and dial this number, Kelly's Phone Quiz. Use your push buttons to answer 9 sports trivia questions, and we'll pay you $100. Simple to do and a lot of fun. You can even select your favorite sports category.
Call now. Answer 9 questions correctly with your push button phone and win $100. 1-900-246-KELLY.
Christmas tree. Matter of fact, if you slide them on and take a look at something like, let's say, that lemonade stand, you can see where the yellows are substantially brighter. In any case, these particular glasses may just be another trend. There's no question about that. But these particular pair belong to Mike Brotherton, and he's leading the Top Fuel World Championship points race. There's got to be something to him.
And he was also one of the first out of that race, at least here this weekend at Norwalk Raceway Park. Thanks, Brett. We go on to semifinal action in Pro Stock, where it will be Doug Kirk going against Jim Yates.
Well, Yates, with only a 500 cubic inch motor, really has his work cut out for him on this one. Kirk running a 689 cubic inch Oldsmobile engine in that Cutlass.
And we probably won't be seeing much of these 500-inch engines in Pro Stock on the IHRA trail. A big announcement this weekend that all of the Pro Stock cars will run at 2,350 pounds last year, regardless of engine size. And it's just tough to make a small 500-inch motor work against one of the big mountain machines.
You'll see an example now. Kirk weighs quite a bit more, but he pulls on top end with those inches to a 759, 183 miles per hour when he goes into the finals.
So give one half of the semifinal brackets to the Mountain Motor over the 500-incher. Here comes another similar matchup. Carlton Phillips, you just met, has the biggest engine in IHRA Pro Stock competition, 745 cubic inches, up against the 500-incher of James Antoinette, who's done all right so far. He knocked off Billy Ewing in the previous round.
But remember, Ewing broke and had that gasoline fire, and in the first round, Antoinette beat Ed Dixon when Dixon fouled.
Antoinette goes right out to the center lane. He's got a handling problem, and Phillips pulls away.
Phillips with a 764, 184 miles per hour. That sets up an all-Mountain Motor final. Brett Kepner talks with him on top end.
Oh, it shook real bad in second and third and got a little squirrely. I saw him in my left vision. I'm sure he saw me over there, too. It was both of us made a bad run, I'm sure.
Well, both you and Doug Kirk ran in the 750, so it could be shaping up to be quite a final.
Yeah, Doug's a real good driver, and he's still got a lot of youth going with him, too. I think that's unfair.
You've been there a long, long time now, and this is the first time you've been there in a long time. If I had to go on enthusiasm, I'd pick you.
Oh, I've got a lot of that with me, no doubt. And a lot of good people helping me, too. A lot of good people.
Good luck to you, guy.
Thank you very much.
Do you detect that Piedmont accent in Carlton Phillips' voice? Sounds a lot like Ricky Smith. It will be Lane Joyce going to Doug Kirk as he meets Carlton Phillips in the finals of Pro Stock, while we move on to Nitro Funny Car. Here is Frank Kramberger, who knocked off Art Hendy in the first round. He'll be going up against Whit Bazemore.
Kramberger hails from Quakertown, Pennsylvania, a regular on the IHRA circuit. Whit with that brand new sponsorship, meanwhile, out of Atlanta, Georgia. So again, the North versus the South.
A big crowd enjoying the afternoon. Still very hot and incredibly humid. A very muggy day here at Norwalk Raceway Park, and that has really been giving the engine tuners fits. All of that humidity and heat takes away horsepower from these engines. But the fields have been enormously closely matched, some of the tightest fields we've seen all year long.
Well, remember, this is Upset City at Norwalk Raceway Park, and it's already underway. We have some of the underdogs already in the finals and semifinals of this race.
Good start, but then Whit Bazemore goes up in smoke, and Frank Kramberger pops the chute early. He knows he had it won.
Kramberger into the finals with a 593, 185 miles per hour. And again for Whit Bazemore, watch when he comes off that short concrete pad here at Norwalk and instantly goes up in smoke.
By shutting it off and getting the chute out early, Kramberger seems to be willing to give up lane choice. We'll find out who he'll meet in the final right now. In the far lane, young Steve Litton, who knocked off his dad Gary in the first round. And right now, he's going up against the biggest name in Nitro Funny Car on the IHRA trail, Chuck Etchells, hoping to make it a runaway in the World Championship with a victory here today at Norwalk.
Well, Steve Litton from Seymour, Tennessee, close by Knoxville, would like to be known as Steve the Giant Killer on this one, Bob.
To the right is Etchells, to the left is Litton. Litton having a little trouble keeping it straight off the pad, but straight and true goes Etchells into the final.
Great run for Chuck Etchells, 5.87, 238 miles per hour. He's into another final.
And with it, he will have lane choice by 1/10 of a second over Frank Kramberger. We move on now to Top Fuel, the Slingshots, 4,000 horsepower, driver in front of the engine. This is Eddie the Thrill Hill, who will be going up against Kenny Koretsky, a young rookie who is really making a name for himself.
Well, as just about every fan knows, the Thrill was the first guy to break into the magic 4-second barrier a couple of years ago in IHRA competition out in Texas. In the first round of this race, he managed to drop off Richard Holcomb. But remember, he put Holcomb on that oily track. We're not really sure what the Thrill can do, because in that round, he went a 673. So we don't know what Hill has in store in this car. Fuzzy Carter, the crew chief, looking over right now, back at the clutch can. And he motions Eddie, everything's fine, go ahead and stage.
And he would Dwight Kersey out front. There are the eyes of one of the youngest drivers in Top Fuel right now, Kenny Koretsky, who, as we mentioned earlier, was getting his feet wet in professional drag racing in a pro stock car last year. Eddie Hill goes up in smoke off the line. This has got to be the biggest thrill ever for Kenny Koretsky.
Kenny Koretsky with a 560, 264 miles per hour. The rookie is into the finals. He applauds these hands. He's one happy guy.
There you see the big slicks gouging the racetrack and then going up in smoke. Not enough rubber there to bring all of that horsepower in the Thrills car to the ground. Kenny Koretsky moves on to the final, and now we'll find out who he will meet up against. This is Gene Snow, a former world champion, a two-time winner here at Norwalk, hoping to match Don Garlits as the only three-time consecutive race winners in Norwalk Top Fuel history.
This is going to be another experienced veteran against a rookie, Bob. Wayne Bailey is his competition in the near lane.
Bailey knocked off Jack Ostrander in the first round. Gene Snow got by Kenny Bernstein. The white car of the Texas oil man Snow in the background. In the foreground, Wayne Bailey. Good starts for both cars. Snow having a little trouble keeping it straight. This could be Bailey's, and it is.
Look at that car move on top end. Wayne Bailey, 542, 237 miles per hour. Watch him look over his shoulder in the replay after he goes through the finish line. Meanwhile, Brett Kepner talks to Wayne down on top end.
You're in the final again.
Thank goodness. We need the money. We struggled with this car for about 6 races, but we got it running good again now.
I'll tell you, you're against another unusual final round opponent. Kenny Koretsky is in his first ever final round, and he can run as quick as you. It's a 20 car as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. The heat of the day, it's hard to run in this air.
With that great ET, Wayne Bailey will have lane choice over fellow rookie Kenny Koretsky. A big moment coming in some young Top Fuel driver's career. We'll be back with final round action from the World Nationals at Norwalk in just a moment.
For almond lovers, it's a match made in heaven. Hershey's Kisses with almonds. The big idea.
Hey, Dad, if I armor all the inside of the car, can I use it Saturday night?
You got a date?
Yeah.
Do the tires and you got a deal.
Done.
Boy, she must be someone special.
Come on, Dad, it's just a date.
Most guys would tell you they don't really think about their hair. Right. Personally, I think most guys want their hair to look good as long as it's not a hassle. That's where Pert Plus comes in. It's a unique shampoo and conditioner in one. So you get clean, more manageable hair than with plain shampoo, but without any extra work. That's Pert Plus. Hey, I admit it. I think about my hair. But it's not all I think about.
Shampoo and conditioner in one. Wash and go with Pert Plus.
It's an SEC showdown when the Florida Gators face the LSU Tigers right before Washington State visits USC. It's a college football doubleheader live Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN.
We're back at Norwalk Raceway Park in Norwalk, Ohio at the Loctite Costi Spumati World Nationals on the IHRA Trail. Bob Barsha and Ted Jones with you. Brett Kepner down at the big end where we're ready for final round action. First up, Pro Stock. Doug Kirk in the far lane going up against Carlton Phillips. It's an all-mountain motored final.
Well, kind of a medium mountain motor, maybe. Doug Kirk at 689 cubic inches. That's what used to be a mountain motor 5 years ago. And Phillips with a modern mountain motor, 745 cubic inches.
Some of these guys will put as much hardware under the hood as they can possibly stuff in there. Good start for Kirk in the far lane with the smaller motor. He's got the advantage, and it looks like he'll hold it against the top-end charge of Carlton Phillips.
Absolutely incredible. Doug Kirk, a 751, 183. This heat is really taking its toll on those ETs today.
Doug Kirk with a great victory. Here's another look. Looks like Phillips in the right lane tried to mount a charge, but it was too little and too late. Now let's hear from our winner.
Been a long time.
Well, Carlton's tough, and I know to have to be ready up there.
Well, like I said, you were pretty much running as a points blocker for Tim Neighbors all day long, and this win will actually help you in the point standings now.
Well, I don't know what to say. They helped me up there and made it all possible. I'd like to thank him and my parents, my wife.
Still an incredible job. Good to see you back in the winner's circle,
Thanks
Guy.
a lot, Brent.
Thanks, Doug. You did good, buddy.
Thank you.
After a lot of close runner-up finishes, Doug Kirk finally gets that first victory of 1990 in the books. We move on to Nitro Funny Cars. Chuck Etchells, you see here, hoping to fatten up his points lead and perhaps, just perhaps, put away the 1990 title. Perhaps not mathematically, but at least in the mind of his opponents, men like Frank Kramberger and the red and white machine.
Well, Frank Kramberger formerly called that machine the Philadelphia Flyer. I don't know what happened to that name, but you know what has to be foremost in Etchells' mind right now is that in the first round of competition, Kramberger put away Art Hindy with a 5.55. That's good enough to beat Etchells, Bob.
Well, it's something that nobody has been able to do lately in Nitro Funny Car racing. Etchells coming in off of a victory in the Eastern Nationals at Atco, New Jersey. He had a second in the race before that, the Empire Nationals in upstate New York, and he won the Winter Nationals in Darlington, South Carolina, first event of the season. And he is out strongly now. Kramberger gets real sideways. Etchells wins his second straight.
Chuck Etchells, a 5.46, 267 miles per hour. He's going to be virtually unstoppable in the points race now. We'll take one more look at it and watch the top of your screen as Frank Kramberger comes off the end of that short concrete pad and gets bent completely out of shape, actually sideways at one point. He had to lift and shut down, handing the easy victory to the World National Champion, Chuck Etchells. A little celebration from the Etchells crew there. We go to top end, and Brett Kepner has Chuck.
We're just really happy to be here, and you know, Dennis Doherty at Mother's Performance, thank him a lot for helping us be here, but he's been helping us, and Super Winch is helping us, and we appreciate that. And you know, without people supporting us, we can't be here. And thank IHRA too.
I'll certainly go along with that. And we'll go on to Top Fuel, our all-rookie final. Somebody is in for a real emotional payday today. Here is Wayne Bailey, and there is Kenny Koretsky.
Well, I think a lot of the riders who follow the IHRA circuit really thought they were going to see a repeat of the New York final, Bob, because we had Hill and Snow, Bailey and Koretsky in the semifinals. And who's in the finals? Bailey and Koretsky, the two rookies. As the veterans, Snow, Hill, Holcomb, Brotherton, and Bernstein look on.
It has certainly scrambled the points, but points don't mean anything here. Neither of these guys really in the running for the championship. This is all for pride.
Wayne Bailey in the first round turned a 5.34. He followed that up with a 5.42, so you know he's got to be thinking 5.30s. Meanwhile, Kenny Koretsky in the last round could only muster up a 5.60, and the round before that, a 5.41. Bailey has to be the favorite in this rookie matchup.
There you see Bailey wearing those special sunglasses Brett talked about earlier. Koretsky will do without. Koretsky in the far lane. Bailey now to the right of your screen. Bailey is staged. Now Koretsky stages. Both cars away. Good starts for both cars, but Bailey in the near lane has the advantage and wins it just barely.
That car can charge on top end. Bailey a 5.33, 273 miles per hour. Look at this car move in the last 200 feet of that drag race.
It is a 5-year-old race car, but it sure works. Let's hear from him down at the big end with Brett.
Koretsky was right there with you. Nobody really seemed to have any problems.
Yeah, it ran good. I want to thank my crew and everybody for sticking with me when this thing wasn't going fast. It's really frustrating, but now it's great.
Couldn't ask for a shorter, sweeter statement than that. We'll be back to sum up the damage in the point standings. A lot of potential champions took it on the chin here today at Norwalk. We'll tell you all about it when we return to Norwalk Raceway Park in Norwalk, Ohio.
This ESPN program is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
What makes a Quaker State engine so tough? One tough motor oil. And being tough takes more than just talking tough. There's a brand that says it's been engineered for smaller engines, while Quaker State has been tested tough for small engines in Japan, in Europe, and in America. In fact, Quaker State has toughed out the most demanding specs for every size engine and every size car sold in the U.S. What makes any size Quaker State engine so tough? Quality engineered Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
The thinking that went into your Firestone tires took a lot of different tracks. At the toughest tracks in the country, we put Firestone tires to the test in all sorts of competition. We race a lot, we learn a lot, and it all goes into every Firestone tire we make. Firestone, tires that meet the test.
Got Firestones again, huh?
I've got a one-track mind.
Welcome back to beautiful Norwalk Raceway Park, where the Loctite Tosti Spumati World Nationals have now played themselves out. Ted Jones, as a result of the action we saw here this afternoon, particularly the upsets, we've had some changes in the series points.
You better believe we have indeed, especially one upset. Wayne Bailey has moved all the way into third place. He's only 160 points out of first place. Mike Brotherton holds on to first. In Nitro Funny Car, Chuck Etchels virtually has it locked up. Doc Holliday in second has a long shot. And in Pro Stock, it's very tight. Tommy Mooney, Doug Kirk, Tim Neighbors, and Harold Denton all have a shot at the Pro Stock Championship.
And you have a shot at a totally restored 1957 Chevy Bel Air coming your way. Various personnel involved with our programming are not eligible. For full contest rules, call area code 714-751-1957. And there is the car on the right, next to Tom the Mongoose McEwen's immaculate 57 Chevy Nitro Funny Car. Get pencil and paper ready for the secret IHRA race word. Send it to Box 3029, Bristol, Tennessee 37625. Ready for the secret word? It is Quick Rod. Next IHRA TV date will be the Snap-on U.S. Open Nationals from Darlington, South Carolina, October 30th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope you'll join us for that, and we'll leave you now with a very special goodbye from Bob Moats and his incredible Kenworth jet truck. For Brett Kepner and Ted Jones, I'm Bob Varsha. Thanks for being with us so long from Norwalk, Ohio.
For the second time this season, the American Racing Series ventures north of
Hannity from nearby Michigan. 88 Compass, 307 he'll be on the Winston side. Last eliminations in A automatic and a pair of 970s on the scoreboard at the far end, but their action time of Chuck Kanoff. He's a winner in that matchup with Aldous Lucci. Here's Rick Johnson out of Hutchinson, Minnesota. Richard Bayshore, the doctor out of Mason, Michigan. Toledo, California. Tough runner out there in Division 7. Finished number 3 a year ago. His Viacano dragster, the Weddle chassis. half buried anyway.
Probably with all 16 foot drives in and always Hey, George.
John Bowler has gone 628, 217 miles per hour. He is not in the program at the current time. Now Messenger has gone 614, 225 miles per hour. And Kermit has placed his engine number 7, 16-yard field. Qualifying sessions today. So for those of you who are planning your day, you need to get ready because we're going to bring a lot of action your way. And again, GTX NHRA now, and of course, when you dial that 1-900 number, you get the voice of Dick Reese. Just about secure now. As a matter of fact, back inside the race cars, drivers are down inside the driver's compartment, and they'll be making ready. The final preparations done by their crews. The electrical cords are attached to the starter motors, just waiting to get the word to start those engines. And we'll continue here in qualifying and talk on the drag. He goes into the bottom half of the Rossi from Middletown, Indiana. The 1955 Ford T-Bird, and what a magnificent car this one is. Joe Hoover from Zionsville, Indiana. It has been seen on Across Indiana and in the July issue of Indianapolis Monthly. I don't know how far back you go in performance cars, but I remember this one, the Studebaker Hawk, the owner of Trick Titanium, Regis Gully, 9 Chevy, 2-door sedan, smooth the chrome off, custom mixed paint, 350 small block Chevrolet, under the hood, Gordon Willits and his chop top Chevy. Here is a 1967 Chevelle convertible with a 327 engine, black on black on black. Could you ask for anything more? This magnificent Malibu. He's got California Dreamin' on the back of the car. Dean Mantooth from Indy has restored that magnificent car. I'm a cubic inch engine under the hood, a Pro Street Studebaker cars that you will ever want to see. County Dragway, and of course, the folks that draw the Drag Racing Association of Women, Oklahoma. An AFX Mustang, a lightweight, was the predecessor to the AFX. I will tell you one thing, if you want to see one of the... Here on the Winston side, Angelo's also be driving the other car, the altered wheelbase Dodge. This one... Ready to go, and a Heath Carden GMC Cyclone, as you well know by now, is a much slower speed. Momentarily.
Oh, beautiful voice, there's the sky, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the rooted range of
in Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and Army Specialist Daniel Skirvin, who was an M60 machine gunner in Iraq from the first day of Operation Desert Storm. They serving as honorary Grand Marshals of this 37th Annual U.S. Nationals. I have one more task to perform in this pre-race activity, and I would like to, let's kind of head back where we
before the tree comes down. Amato waits for his life and runs a 4:96. McEwen goes from dead late last Sunday to super early this Sunday. Let's go to Don Garlits in the starting line.
We all made two awful nice strong runs in the last.
Doing this car and
Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans, and welcome to this edition of NHRA Today. The first portion of which comes to you from, I'd say about 31,000 feet aboard an American Airlines jet bound for Boston. With 19 events on the Winston drag racing calendar and all of the other activities racers are into these days, things can get pretty hectic. In the next half hour, we'll show you how much Top Fuel dragster owner and baseball star Jack Clark and his good friend and driver, Tom the Mongoose McEwen, can jam into a day. I think you'll be impressed. But first, let's find out what, besides the coffee, is hot. The U.S. Nationals was the scene of two of drag racing's premier special events. On Sunday, Jim White waded through a field of the 8 quickest funny cars in the land to capture the Big Bud Shootout. And along the way, the Hawaiian Punch Daytona ran the fastest speed in funny car history at over 288 miles per hour. IRP was also the site of the first ever Whack Shop Pro Bike Dash, which featured the 8 top point scorers in the Winston Pro Stock Motorcycle Championship. Coming out on top of the star-filled field was Jim Bernard, and complete coverage of the event will be shown later this year on a special edition of NHRA Today. There also was an interesting Pro Stock story in the world of four-wheels. We have talked before about the merely push-a-button air shifters on Pro Stock 5-speeds. Well, Butch Leal has a new G-Force 5-speed in the Rod Shop Chevy Beretta. And Butch, you're going to shift her the old-fashioned way, manually.
I sure am, Steve, and I've done it for so many years with the old 4-speeds, and it's sort of the same principle. You put it in low gear and put it in second, third, fourth, fifth. It's a vertical gate, and it's so much easier, and it gives me something to do in the car rather than just sit and ride and push the buttons. And I'm really enjoying it this weekend, and we've been pretty successful and having a great time.
And that's what's hot. Well, the seatbelt sign is off, so we'll take a moment or two to talk to Jack and Tom. You know, Jack, with a home in California and your job obviously in Boston, things get pretty weird.
Well, we put a lot of time in the air, but you know, this is the only way you can get there.
You know, and Tom, more than drag racing gets you across the country.
We, you know, running the 19 Winston Championship races, I'm just like him. I fly a lot, do press in this motel, suitcasing it around the country. We're plenty busy.
Jack, how does the Red Sox travel?
We travel charter flights on the MGM Grand, and it, you know, get us right to the planes and right to the hotels, and they make it short and sweet and get the job done so we can get our rest and do what we're supposed to do.
And we're going to get you right to Dave McClellan's Top Fuel report from last weekend's U.S. Nationals.
Top Fuel Eliminator at the U.S. Nationals guaranteed fireworks, as each of the top 5 drivers in the Winston standings were on the same side of the eliminations ladder. In the second round, points leader Joe Amato in the near lane squared off against his closest rival, Kenny Bernstein. Joe had powered his Valvoline machine into the #1 qualifying slot with a 4.95-second elapsed time. But at the green, the Budweiser King reacted first and defeated Amato, who fell victim to both a performance problem and the U.S. Nationals hex.
There's that Indy #1 qualifier jinx they've been talking about all weekend. Only 2 people in 27 years have won from the pole position. I was hoping to be the third guy, and usually things happen in threes.
Meeting Bernstein in the Final 4 would be the winner of the race between Don Prudhomme and Frank Hawley. The Skoal Bandit driver came to Indy in 3rd place in the championship, 1 spot ahead of Hawley, and the Snake knew he needed a win to keep within striking distance of the points leaders. But as the cars left the line, Prudhomme's tires lost traction and billowed smoke, while the Coors Light Special rocketed across the finish line and into the Final 4. In that race, Bernstein in the far lane slapped a sizable hole shot on the Gwin Racing Team dragster and then held on for the win and a spot in the final despite Hawley's quicker elapsed time. On the other side of the ladder, 1987 Winston champion Dick LaHaye qualified second and met up with Steve's traveling companion, Tom McEwen, in round 2. But Dick's hope for a victory ended when his car broke at the line, granting McEwen the win. Meeting the Mongoose in the Final 4 would be the winner of the second round match between Eddie Hill and Pat Austin. In the first round, Hill had recorded the only 4-second time of eliminations, while Austin had recorded remarkable reaction times during qualifications. Pat once again performed brilliantly at the lights, leaving 1/10 of a second earlier than the Super Shop's entry and holding off Eddie's fast but futile 4-second run. In the Final 4 against McEwen's Mobil 1 machine, Pat once again reacted superbly, running his quickest time of the event, a 5:03 that secured him lane choice over Bernstein. During the finals, Pat was extremely busy, as he had also piloted his alcohol funny car into the championship round And as he rolled forward into the water box, a Cinderella story seemed about to happen. But then disaster struck.
The burnout, I just screwed up, and I didn't hit it hard enough and get it going. And went to get back into it, which a nitro car you can't, and just banged the blower.
Then, to make matters even more frustrating for the Castrol driver, Bernstein smoked the tires during his lucky solo run to the U.S. Nationals crown.
You take them any way you can. Would have liked to have run good for the fans in the final. Would have been neat, but a win's a win. It's the U.S. Nationals. It means a lot to us.
Well, Kenny Bernstein, you moved closer to Joe Amato in the Winston chase. Third is Don Prudhomme, Frank Hawley fourth, and Laurie Johns number 5.
Hey, those Top Fuel guys, they've got nothing on me. I'm going 340 miles an hour on the final approach into Logan International in Boston, but somehow it's just not quite the same. Stay with us. When we come back, you'll see Jack Clark and Tom McEwen, well, in a role you might not have imagined.
NHRA Today is being brought to you by Castrol GTX, the motor oil that provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown.
Every leading motor
away from the track. There's one driver whose aim is always to put drag racing and life in their proper perspective.
The driver may have a lot on his mind as he prepares his car in staging. Your competition eliminator, Scott Wilcox, somewhere in the back of your mind, there are also thoughts of some kids at Riley Children's Hospital.
Yeah. That lets the parachute out in the back.
They had heard about the Nationals on TV, and they're really kind of excited, you know, to come out and see the car and get their picture taken with it. It's very, very, very fulfilling, you know.
Even though Scott lost his bid to win the U.S. Nationals in the third round, he got to take home some memories of a lifetime during this visit to Indianapolis. In the comp final, David Nickens matched up against Tom Martino in the far lane. And it was Nickens with the win, his 4th national Oscar of the season.
When we started the race, we were conservative, and we stepped up each round in the finals. We ran our best number, and we felt like it'd take it to beat Tommy Martino. And we just kind of played it safe and tried not to beat ourselves all weekend.
The top alcohol funny car final featured the double-duty dynamo Pat Austin in the near lane. He promptly put away Anthony Bartone and picked up his 41st national career victory.
I guess we're tied up the snake. I was hoping to double up on him and pass him up, but it just wasn't meant to be, and we're going to win some races in both cars.
Now, here are the rest of the winners from the 37th annual U.S. Nationals.
Castrol presents the GTX Pipeline, the latest news from the world of drag racing.
1 year ago, the U.S. Nationals was the site of Darrell Gwynn's emotional return to the track following his crippling accident. Well, this year at Indy, Darrell was presented with a specially equipped van, courtesy of his friends at Mopar.
This is my mobility. Besides my wheelchair, this is how I get around, and this is the only thing I can basically get up and get around in real easily and quickly, and plus it's good looking.
We've been with Darrell for a long time, and we just thought that this was something that we had to do for Darrell.
Remember, you don't want to ball in there. You don't want to make sure it's good.
Inside your smooth-running engine is a torture chamber. And under these grueling conditions, only one leading motor oil meets the world's toughest requirements for the...
Roland Leong-owned Hawaiian Punch Dodge Daytona had dominated qualifying and advanced easily into
the Final Four, where he would meet the winner of the race between Mark Oswald and Tom Hoover. Hoover's Pontiac had advanced to the second round when Mike Dunn's Snickers Dodge broke before the burnout. And against Oswald, the Scotch Color Print film-sponsored machine left the line first in the far lane, but then Tom's car faltered and Oswald was passed and into the Final Four against White. At the green, the In-N-Out Burger machine reacted first, but then went up in smoke, while White limped across the finish line after a rear end had broken. On the other side of eliminations, John Force's Castrol Cutlass moved with ease into the Final Four, where his opponent was the promising newcomer, Del Worsham. John had qualified second, Del third, and at the green, they left with almost identical reaction times, but then Del's Cutlass in the far lane hazed the tires. The front wheels lifted off the ground, forcing the rookie to back off the throttle and watch Force motor into the distance. So that victory set up a rematch between the finalists from the previous day's Big Bud Shootout.
and it gave John Force the chance to do something he had never done before, win the U.S. Nationals.
But at the green, it was once again all white as Jim took the lead and blasted to victory, despite his roof hatch flying off midway through the run.
Jim White, one of the few drivers ever to put together the doubleheader of the Big Bud Shootout and a U.S. Nationals title.
I thought only the big guys could do it. What a weekend, what a race car.
Jim White moved even closer to John Force in the Winston Points Championship. Mike Dunn is third, Mark Oswald fourth, and Ed McCulloch number 5.
There's an old baseball saying, you can't tell the players without a program. Well, the same can be said of drag racing, really. You can't tell the players without National Dragster, and you can't get National Dragster until you join the National Hot Rod Association. For just $45.
The Association of Women held their annual auction hosted by Dave McClellan. Thousands of dollars were raised to benefit injured racers
and their families. On Sunday morning, a sizable turnout joined Racers for Christ chaplain Ken Owen for a special memorial for Gary Ormsby, who had succumbed to cancer earlier in the week. Gary was also on everyone's mind at Friday night's 25th annual Carcraft All-Star Banquet, held at the prestigious Westin Hotel. Throughout the evening, friends and teammates paid tribute to the former Winston champion.
I only hope that I can do as good a job. I know that I can't replace him, but nobody can.
Another area hotel was the site of the Drag Racing Memorabilia Society's annual gathering. Fans and racers alike enjoyed the opportunity to explore the history of drag racing amid the pins and posters, magazines, and models.
It's, really reminiscing in the old times. So a lot of fun.
History was also the key word for some happenings during the daily opening ceremonies. NHRA founder and chairman of the board, Wally Parks, was presented with a restored version of an early safety safari vehicle. Joining in the moment were 4 members of the original safari, clothed in their early uniforms.
I just can't believe it. I'm looking at original Safari crew members. I'm looking at original equipment, and it's kind of looking back at the day you were born, I guess. It's just unbelievable.
Another pioneer of drag racing was honored during the weekend when outgoing Indianapolis Raceway Park general manager Bob Daniels received the Founders Award.
I can't think of anything to top off my retirement and leaving Raceway Park than to be the recipient of this Founders Award. The facility has never looked any better. I think that's the thing I'm proudest of.
It seems like there were award winners everywhere you looked at IRP. Rebecca and Scott Ball, the winners of the Diamond P trip to the U.S. Nationals, were in attendance. And Joe Harudka honored the crew chiefs of all 16 members of the 4-Second Club with special rings.
We thought in 1991 here we had the opportunity to have a ring made for the crew chief. In the future, we hope to have more opportunity to recognize more people.
Celebrities also turned out at Indy. Among them, the Oak Ridge Boys, who are all big drag racing fans, toured the pits and met with many of the top drivers.
Real thrill for the Oak Ridge Boys to get to be in a different kind of arena today.
The Oak Ridge Boys capped off their visit to the track by performing the national anthem live from the starting line. A perfect touch to highlight a busy but enjoyable week at the U.S. Nationals.
I never thought in a million years I would ever be this close to the famed Green Monster left field wall here at Fenway Park. It's quite a thrill for me. Last Monday afternoon in Indianapolis, there was a red and white monster in pro stock they had to try to deal with.
Indianapolis Raceway Park has always had special meaning to Castrol driver Larry Morgan. In 1989, it was the scene of his first Pro Stock National event win. And for 2 consecutive years, he also captured the Pro Stock Challenge. Staying true to form, Larry moved easily into the second round of eliminations at the 37th Annual U.S. Nationals, where he faced Mark Bowick. In a battle of Ohioans, Mark claimed reaction time bragging rights with the better launch. But by the finish line, the 1992 Cutlass of Morgan had moved past for the victory in the far lane.
Larry Morgan's opponent in the Final Four was the former Winston Supergas champion, Vince Curry. In fact, Curry's Oldsmobile Cutlass was formerly owned by Larry Morgan.
Vince may well want a partial refund on his purchase price because Mechanical Gremlin struck just after he did his burnout, granting Morgan a solo run and a place in the finals for the 3rd year in a row. The other side of the eliminations ladder featured a strong performance from 3rd qualifier Bruce Allen, who met up with Scott Jeffreyon in the 2nd round. The Super Shop Chevy in the near lane took a sizable initial lead over the tardy Oldsmobile, but as Bruce worked through the 5-speed gearbox, a critical part failed.
There's one part in these transmissions that's slightly suspect and a little weak, and it's unfortunate. It's a part you can't really magnaflux and check and know it's going to break, and this time it just broke in the middle of the run.
Jeffrey On's opponent in the Final Four was the all-too-familiar red and white Mopar Dodge Daytona, driven by Darrell Alderman. And at the green, Darrell immediately showed his heels to the Oldsmobile, taking an easy win that also secured lane choice in the championship encounter. At the green, Alderman showed why he is at the top of the Pro Stock pack, cutting a superb light and then charging to victory.
I think every driver dreams of winning the U.S. Nationals as far as one single event. It's the granddaddy, it's the big one. I mean, it's next thing to winning the World Championship to us.
Darrell Alderman certainly increased his lead in the Winston Championship. Second is Warren Johnson, Scott Jeffrey on third, Larry Morgan in fourth, and fifth is Bob Glidden.
Well, Tom better hurry if he's going to make his next flight today. The boy never stops. See you at Maple.